We meet again, Sony. It's been a long time. Those of you who have seen some of my past Sony reviews know they usually end up in similar fashion. Excellent sensor, loads of features, but overall impression is that of a gadget, not a camera. Menu is often complicated, one feature disables another, and a lot of details remains unpolished. So let's take a look how A6300 performs. In size and shape it is almost identical to A6000 and I like that. It is just the right size to have electronic viewfinder, flash, hot shoe, small but nicely shaped grip, several programmable buttons and tilt LCD while remaining relatively small in absolute terms. Dual control dials could have been positioned better. You see, the top dial can be used only with the thumb, not with index finger, while the back dial is placed very low and a bit hard to reach. Buttons on the back are a bit small and kind of hard to use if you have bigger fingers or in winter with the gloves. Besides these two issues, I think the camera is actually nice to handle, especially after getting used to it and customizing controls. Quick Menu has 12 slots for you to assign them, and a good logic of selecting features and changing them. Left, right and up down on multi-way controller changes between features, and rotation of the same back dial changes value without extra button presses or confirmations. 6 of the external buttons can be customized and there's quite a lot of features available for each of them. Main menu is a mess. Sheer amount of options wouldn't be an issue if it had a better logic. The way it is now, it looks like a well-shuffled deck of cards. Everything is everywhere. Here's an example. Just look at the tab number 4. Still image and video settings are next to each other on the same tab. Video autofocus and ISO settings together. How in the world are they connected to be on the same tab? In the middle you can see exposure compensation, which is the most basic and one of the most used functions on any camera, but here it has its own unnecessary dedicated menu item, which when you press it just takes you back to live view screen. Look at the tab number 8. Image stabilization, color space and audio recording level on the same tab. How am I supposed to remember what is where? Anyway, enough of the technical stuff and let's take a look at image quality. I can tell you straight away this is probably the best APS-C sensor today. Straight out of the box images have neutral character and a bit muted colors. If you want them to pop, it's easy to boost contrast and saturation. Level of details is simply outstanding. I still think Nikon D7200 will give a tiny bit more, but this is probably hard to notice in real life use. At high ISO, Sony takes the lead as the best performing APS-C camera. Grain is visible, but is well under control and a good amount of details remains in images. If needed, you can get away with ISO 25,600 shots. I don't remember ever using a crop camera with usable results so high up. Dynamic range is also very high and a lot can be recovered from raw files both in highlights and shadows. In real life this means you can go from image looking like this to this. If you want it, A6300 can autocorrect for vignetting, chromatic aberrations and distortions. My advice is to keep them all enabled, especially if you shoot JPEG only. Automatic ISO control is quite good. It is possible to select lowest shutter speed manually or leave it to the camera to choose by itself when to change ISO, in which case there are 5 levels to select from and fine-tune the camera response. Video recording offers 3 file formats with several frame rates and bitrates options for each of them, topping out at 4K at 30p and Full HD at 60p or even 120p for slow motion. While A6000 did not have microphone input, A6300 finally has it. Zebra and picking are also built in, as is the case with flat video profiles. Auto ISO is available in manual exposure modes. Video crop depends on selected resolution and frame rates. Autofocus speed for video recording can be adjusted in 3 levels. At the fastest setting, A6300 appears to focus even faster than Canon EOS 80D with dual pixel autofocus, which I consider for the best focusing system right now. Here is an example how it works in real life situation. I don't think I ever saw camera focusing as fast as Sony A6300. It is also very precise. Here's another sample, this time in low light. No problem whatsoever, it focuses without any issues. Still, I have a big complaint regarding focusing on this camera, and it concerns the lack of touchscreen, which would enable me to focus on anything anywhere in the frame with simple touch control, just like Canon has on dual pixel models. Instead, one must press multi-way controller multiple times to move focusing point, what is a tedious process. If used on a light tripod, those presses might even be seen on video as the camera is shaken a little. As for video quality, it is phenomenal. It is so sharp and detailed, it's a true joy looking at it. Since I record my reviews in Full HD, I will upload all these samples in a separate video in 4K resolution. You really need to see them in full 4K glory to understand how good they are. I think they can even look better than those from Panasonic GH5, but I would need to use both cameras at the same time to confirm that objectively. In low light there is no competition, since A6300 clearly destroys Panasonic. Up to ISO 1600 noise is hardly visible. 32 and 6400 are still very clean, and I would use ISO 12800 without second thoughts. Even ISO 25600 can pull out some impressive looking footage. For comparison, GH5 tops out at ISO 3200 for my taste, and 12800 looks unusable. Sony really kicks ass in video quality. Continuous shooting is possible at maximum of quite high 11 frames per second, and if that is too much for some occasions, there are two slower settings. This is how the shutter sounds on single release, and this is 11 frames per second burst. I would say it is a bit loud. Luckily, there is a silent shooting mode which enables electronic shutter and makes the camera fully silent, but can cause rolling shutter or streaks in images under certain types of artificial light sources, so please be careful when and how you use it. There are standard focus modes and autofocus point selection methods: wide area, zone, central, flexible spot, and so on. Autofocus speed and accuracy are rather good, and my biggest concern is the lack of the touchscreen. Those never-ending multiple presses on multi-way controller are really tedious. This could be solved with a proper joystick on the camera like Panasonic GH5 or Fuji X-T2 have, or even simpler, just add a touchscreen. Actually, they have on Alpha 6500, but that one is $400 more expensive. Articulated LCD has usual 3 inches diagonal and 920,000 dots. It is good enough, but lately I've seen even better LCD units with more resolution and better color and contrast, especially the one on Panasonic GH5. Notice how the rubber eyepiece on viewfinder covers part of the LCD when looked upon from above. It is non-removable as far as I have seen. Also, it has a bit of a problem with reflection, more than I would like it to. Can you notice my camera and microphone reflected on LCD? Electronic viewfinder has 2.36 million dots and OLED technology. There's basically nothing to complain about it since it looks really good, except Panasonic GH5 has a better one with more resolution and higher dynamic range. EVF frame rate can be selected at 50 or 100 FPS, which makes it look very fluid. The speed at which live view is transferred to EVF and back to LCD is something Sony still needs to work on, as it takes around 1.5 seconds. Here is how the GH5 works in comparison. Yes, I know, GH5 costs twice as much, but I want you to see what you get for that extra money. Alpha 6300 uses familiar MPFW50 battery pack, the same one used all the way from the first NEX5 7 years ago. All Sony mirrorless cameras have it, including top-of-the-line Alpha 7 models and also RX10 in all 3 generations. This means you can travel with multiple cameras, but carry only one charger and battery type. I find this very important. Alpha 6300 is capable of shooting around 350 or 400 shots from a single charge. At lower temperatures this number falls pretty quickly, and in my experience only around 150 or 200 shots can be squeezed out when it's really cold. External charger is once again not part of the retail package. Alpha 6300 is delivered with AC adapter and the battery is charged inside the camera using micro USB connection. This means you will be able to charge it using external battery packs, but I would still prefer if Sony bundled traditional battery charger by default. SD and Sony memory stick cards are supported in the same slot, but only one at a time. As you can see, memory card is very close to compartment door and it is a bit hard to get it out. Keep in mind, when recording at 4K resolution, the memory card must be labeled as UHS free or faster, but now it works with any card size. For comparison, RX 100 Mark IV requires at least 64GB memory card. I'm happy to report Alpha 6300 records 4K video on 16GB U-free card. When the camera writes data to memory card, some functions will still be disabled. It will not allow you to enter playback or some functions which can be assigned to external buttons. Others, like drive mode or ISO setting, will work. The problem is one cannot tell which will work and which won't until you try them all. Sony still needs to work on such bugs. Alpha 6300 has 3.5mm microphone input, micro HDMI, micro USB and a special connector at the bottom of the hot shoe made for dedicated Sony accessories. Besides the hot shoe, there is a small pop-up flash which can be tilted upwards for bounce. For the end, here's a list of all the good and the bad things about Sony Alpha 6300. On the good side, it has probably the best photo and video quality both for low and high ISO values among all APS-C sensor cameras and is full of features for advanced users, while still producing pretty good results straight out of the box in full auto mode for amateurs. But at the same time, it has irritating omissions and limitations. Lacks touch LCD, which would allow much better utilization of that fast autofocus in video mode and would definitely benefit from a complete menu redesign. Some of these things were fixed when Sony introduced Alpha 6500. It has touch LCD, faster processor which allows image playback while still writing to the card, redesigned color-coded menu system and even stabilized sensor. But this is not Alpha 6500 review, I'm talking about Alpha 6300, which is a quirky camera and is finally up to you to decide whether you can live with it. If you can, I think you will be quite satisfied as this is one damn good photo and video machine. That's all for this review. I hope you enjoyed it and got most of your questions answered. If you still have a question, feel free to ask me in the comment section below. Subscribe to my channel for updates, and if you want to support my work, buy stuff on Amazon using my affiliate links below the video. You will not pay any more than otherwise, but I will get a small percentage from every purchase. Thanks for watching.